Do you want to hear the story of Moses or Joseph and his brothers? Well, this is the story from the Beginner's Bible. Once upon a time in the land of Egypt, there was a very special baby. His name was Moses. Moses was no ordinary baby. He was the son of God. When he grew up, God spoke to him and told him it was time to go to Egypt. There, Moses would confront Pharaoh and tell him to let the people of Israel go. But when Moses went to Pharaoh, Pharaoh didn't listen. He told Moses he didn't want to let the Israelites leave. And so God gave Moses a challenge. He told him that if he could turn his staff into a snake, then Pharaoh would believe that God really was with him. So Moses did what God asked him to do. And as he waved his staff, it became a snake. Pharaoh and his magicians tried to do the same thing, but they couldn't. They just couldn't. So Pharaoh still wouldn't let the Israelites go. So God did something else. He made the river turn to blood. But even after that, Pharaoh still wouldn't listen. Then God sent a plague of frogs. And after that, he sent gnats and flies, turned the dust to a very bad kind of skin disease, and he made boils break out all over the Egyptians. Then God killed every firstborn son in Egypt. Pharaoh finally said, "Get out." The Israelites left Egypt and they wandered in the desert for 40 years until God brought them to the land of Canaan. While they were wandering in the desert, God provided food for them. He gave them manna to eat and water from a rock to drink. Manna was like white flakes of snow, tasted like honey, and it was very sweet. The people followed God's directions. They gathered 2 days' worth of manna every day, but not on the Sabbath. On the Sabbath, they were to gather 3 days' worth of manna. Otherwise, it would spoil. Sometimes the people weren't very patient. They complained about not having food. Sometimes they were disobedient. They didn't follow God's directions. But God always took care of them. He sent quail for them to eat, and he gave them water from a rock to drink. One time God told them to cross the Jordan River, but the river wasn't shallow. It was overflowing because it had rained a lot. The people were afraid they would drown. But Joshua told them to be brave. He said, "I will go ahead of you into the river, and the waters that you see in the riverbed will dry up. You can walk across the riverbed on dry ground." So that's exactly what happened. The waters dried up, and the people crossed over on foot. And when they reached the other side, the waters came back. The river overflowed and rushed back into its banks. The people of Israel crossed over without getting wet, but the king of Jericho tried to stop them. He led his soldiers to fight against the Israelites, but God stopped the king and his soldiers. For 7 days, God made the sun stand still in the sky. The Israelites chased the king and his soldiers all around the city of Jericho. And after 7 days, the people of Jericho were exhausted, so the king and all of his soldiers had to surrender. After that, God told the Israelites to take a rest, said it was time to celebrate. And how did they celebrate? Well, they marched around the city of Jericho 7 times. They marched around the city walls, and the walls fell down flat. The Israelites entered the city and destroyed it. They burned all the buildings and homes. They took all of the gold, silver, and bronze. They took all of the nice clothes and food, and they divided everything up among the people. Well, that's the story of Moses and the Israelites. Do you want to hear another story? Here's the story of Joseph and his brothers. Once upon a time in the land of Canaan, there was a man named Jacob. Jacob had 12 sons, and his favorite son was Joseph. One day, Joseph's brothers got very angry at him. They hated him because their father loved him more than any of them. They said, "Let's sell him to the merchants. That way we can get rid of him." So that's what they did. They sold Joseph to some merchants who traveled to Egypt. In Egypt, Joseph ended up in prison. He was accused of doing something he didn't do. But after being in prison for a while, Joseph was taken out of prison. Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, told Joseph he wanted him to be his second in charge. Joseph interpreted Pharaoh's dreams, and he helped save Egypt from famine. Now Joseph's brothers didn't know that he was in Egypt. One day there was a famine in Canaan, and Joseph's family had to go to Egypt to get food. Joseph gave them food, but he didn't tell them who he was. He kept testing them to see if they would recognize him. And finally, Joseph couldn't hold it in anymore. He cried out, "It's me, Joseph." And of course, they were very surprised. They were very happy to see each other again. Joseph forgave his brothers for selling him. He said, "Don't be upset. Don't be angry. I am here to take care of all of you." Well, that's the story of Joseph and his brothers. And those are just two stories from the Beginner's Bible.